Welcome to December of 2025. You're going to see this in January, which is when most people like to start big projects, if I recall correctly, because of the whole brand new year and starting as you mean to continue thing. But I started last month for me, because December right now, I started in November doing an inventory of my stash. So I guess this is my first formal stash busting video. And I get to kick things off with two projects that I didn't really count in the totals for any of the yarn I inventoried in November, and that's because they were already in progress at that time. Probably should or could have counted them since the yarn was purchased prior to deciding to concentrate on more knitting. So first off, socks. I believe that the yarn for this is Turtle Feet in the colorway Punk Rock Girl. I probably have it up on Ravelry, so I can check that later. This yarn has been in my stash for years, and I cast them on something like 2 years ago, I think. And it's just taken me a long time to get through them. They're socks from my mother-in-law. They need a bath and some time drying on the blockers because water is magic. I'm just glad to have gotten them finished. And this is my Nocturnal jumper designed by Sasky & Company. This hasn't been blocked because right now the world is ice and snow and I'd rather wear it. Probably will block it this spring or summer when it's too warm to wear, and I know that it won't take ages to dry out. So I'll block it, dry it, and probably put it away for the warm months. I'm just very happy to have these off the needles. I do, however, still have a sweater on the needles. The Step-by-Step Pullover by Florence Miller. Aha. It's using Caron Blossom Cakes in the colorway Rose. Oh, don't want to lose my place. I started this in spring of 2024. And then I got busy with sewing and put it aside until about September, at which point I had to figure out where I was on the yoke. And I wound up having to pull it back quite a few rounds because I believe I'd been knitting on it during a live stream and forgot to increase by a couple of stitches. So, hi! All it needs is a plain row and then to do the separation for the body and the sleeves. There's a part of me that wants a green cardigan, green or brown, so I'm considering the step-by-step cardigan. We'll see about that. I might have to stash up for it. I have a vague recollection of a scene in Practical Magic where Nicole Kidman's character Jillian is wearing some sort of cardigan with embroidery up the side, and I think it's a fun idea. I'm a big fan of customizing my clothing. I make most of it myself. I just haven't been taking the time to do the customization, so why not? Okay, so here we've got something I just cast on. Just cast on in the past couple of days. And I didn't make this box bag. This is not mine. I picked it up at Fiber Shindig this past fall. Apparently the gal who makes the bags gets the fabric in Japan, which is really kind of cool. So this looks kind of weird right now, and that's because I'm in the middle of short rows. This is the Hairst Hap Hood by Gudrun Johnston. And I cast this on mostly because my favorite place on the sofa over there gets mighty chilly during the evening, and I usually wind up with cool air sweeping down the stairs and right across the back of my neck, which is not very pleasant. I wind up feeling a lot colder than I really need to. So this is a cashmere blend from Color Mart, and it's been in the stash for years. I'd made a pie shawl out of it for my mom using just one strand. And I seem to recall that if you give it a really good wash, and I mean almost an aggressive wash once you're done the project, it causes the yarn to bloom, because I believe that the yarn is spun with a little bit of oil for industrial knitting. A friend of mine recommended it to me, and when you get it finished, it's lovely stuff. I'm knitting this with a strand of navy and a strand of black, which makes this really beautiful midnight blue color. Color Mart often has these package deals where you get about 4 or 5 different colors or shades because they're the odds and ends left over from industrial cones. And this one originally came with, I think it was 5 little cones. And this project's taking up the bulk of 2 of them. So I think it originally shipped with 100 grams in total. And this is about 50 grams of navy and 50 grams of black. The rest of the black is left over. I think there's about 18 grams. There's a little bit of tangled navy that's kind of off to the side if I need it. Tangled up while the husbeast and I were making this into a ball because he was actually helping me by holding onto the cone of black while I was pulling things from the ball of navy. So I've got about 19 grams of purple left over and 91 grams of blue black. So if I want to make some smaller lace things, I still have some yarn from Color Mart that I can play with if I don't decide to order more. But right now I'm thinking use the stuff that I have, though they do have other weights of yarn, and I've often been tempted to try one of their larger weights as a more DK size, particularly if I decide to make a sweater or something, because Color Mart is actually quite reasonably priced. Not sponsored, just saying. I'm hoping that the hood fits. The Hairst Hap hood looks an awful lot like a medieval hood minus the liripipe. And I made a medieval hood a few years ago from a pattern by Opus Elena, and I absolutely love that thing. I wear it every winter for shoveling snow or going out. So having a cashmere hood underneath as a sort of extra lining would just be next level. And I also have a sock in my take-along bag. This is a bag that I made with fabric from Michael's pack quarter section. Sock. Every year I would take a look at the really lovely fine fingering yarns that I've got in my stash, and I would immediately go, none of these are really suitable for socks. And if you've seen my inventory video, you'll know that I have something like 118 balls or skeins of sock yarn or fingering weight yarn. And part of that is definitely because I would go places and I'd see a fingering weight yarn and I'd go, yoink, you're coming home with me. And some of the really fine 2-plies don't make great socks. They're rather thin. They get thin very quickly. They're better for things like shawlettes and scarves, hats, occasional pair of mittens, stuff like that. So I'd take a look at the stash and go, I can't really see myself making a pair of socks for Dad out of that, or for my father-in-law out of that, or, and this sounds bad, I'd rather not make the socks for my mom or my mother-in-law out of these colors because I like these colors. Also fully knowing that they're the kind of yarn that will get chewed through really quickly. So be very momentary pleasure on the part of my mother and my mother-in-law, which really doesn't feel great when you're trying to give a gift. So I'd go out to the store and I'd pick up, at the time it was Schachenmeyer Regia, I believe, which is now owned by Hobie, if I recall, or online, or Zitron Trekking, which I believe is now discontinued. Basically one of these more European sock yarns that they're finer. I believe that they're finer singles, but there's more of them that are spun together. So I think this is closer to a 4 or a 6 ply, just with finer plies. Could be wrong. Either way, it's a nice sturdy stock yarn. And I'd wind up actually buying really nice self-striping or just gradated colorways for the folks in my family. So more masculine colors for the guys and prettier colors for the ladies. And then it would be my turn to make a sock for me, and I'd be like, well, the other ones, as I mentioned, would get threadbare really quickly, so I wouldn't have very long to wear them. And all that's left over are these kind of yucky colors that I didn't choose to make everybody else's socks out of. So it got to a point a few years back where when I would see a really nice sturdy sock yarn colorway, I would set aside one for myself. So if I decided one would be great for my mom or would be great for my mother-in-law, I would also yoink one for me and put it aside so that I wasn't feeling salty about giving away something that I thought I would like. Probably doesn't say anything good about me, but there it is. At very least, I wanted them to have something really nice, but I also wanted myself to have something really nice. And this was one of those colorways. It's a very long way of me saying this is one of those colorways that I had set aside for myself. And now that I am making it, I'm not so sure. Mostly because it's using that sort of speckling that they like to call jacquard. Not jacquard, it's just speckling. And it's making the colors kind of muddy. So we'll see where I am when I finally get to the heel flap on these ones, whether or not I really actually like this. And if it's not for me, well, then I will ask for one of the other members of the family who's still with us what their updated foot size is so that I can make it for them. I've gone through a couple of these situations in the past where I've gotten to a certain point and went, this sock really isn't for me. And when I show it to somebody else, they go, ooh, I really love that. And so better that it goes to somebody who really loves it. But right now the jury is still out. So much to my annoyance, I'm not finished with the hood. And there have been a couple of times when I've almost considered just yeeting it. Ah, boy. So anyhow, this is the front half and is far too small for me. This is 2 strands of the cashmere lace weight on size 6 needles. And it's just too small. It's too small. I'm gonna bump the microphone, so. So, I could keep going in this, hoping that once it goes into the wash and blooms, that it magically grows, sort of like one of those little pill capsules that you used to toss into water, and then the capsule would disintegrate and you'd get like this much bigger sponge in the shape of a dinosaur. But I don't think that's going to happen. According to my original order from Color Mart, the package that I got came with 5 colors of the lace weight. So single would be about that big. And the 5 colors, I believe, were 2 purples, navy, blue, black, and black. I've got a little bit of purple left, and the colors I was using for this were the navy and the black together. What I've done is I have taken the navy, the blue, black, and the black, and I've run it through my e-spinner. And it's given me this really nice sort of DK weight, or very light DK weight. And the difference is kind of striking. Don't know if you'll be able to tell at all. But there is actually quite the difference. This is the smaller one on this side, the 2 strands. This is the 3. Now I didn't put it into the wash. I could have skeined it up, done the wash, dried it, and then rolled it to start knitting. And it would have been more balanced. As you can see, it has lots of little pigtails. But I put it through the e-spinner mostly to keep the strands together so that I could just put them into a ball. And this is working just fine. It's working perfectly fine. This is where we are right now with the 3 strands on size 8 needles. I've got 1 shoulder done, and the short rows still need to be done on the other shoulder, but it's looking a whole lot better. But it's a lot bigger. You can just tell. I'll put them side by side down on my table here where there's a grid so you can get an idea of the sizing. I think this is actually going to work up a whole lot nicer. So I have the rest of the work to do on the front, and then do another one of these for the back, put a hood on it, and we'll see how that goes. If I start running low on my yarn, I'll just take this apart. I've got plenty of my blue black left. I can just respin it through, and that'll be good. We've made it to the end of December, and I'm still not finished the hood. I did get both front and back done and put together. So they are seamed. And I've picked up the stitches for the hood. So I guess that's the next step. I wish I could show lots of aesthetic knitting in action content. Hi, kitty. But I've actually been doing quite a bit of knitting while sitting at the computer, either while editing videos for December or playing Baldur's Gate 3, because a couple of friends gifted the game to both the Husbeast and I for Yule, and we've been playing it as a 4-person co-op, which is really fun if you're into that sort of video game. If you play, no spoilers in the comments, please. Our friends are taking pains to ensure that while we're doing the guided tour, we're getting to experience as much of the game ourselves at our own pace. Which is why there's been time for knitting, usually when someone's gotten up to grab a drink, or when we're in the middle of a series of cutscenes. I haven't made any progress on my carry along hand knit sock this month. There we go. But then we haven't gone anywhere, and I've been working on the hood, so that explains that. Which means I'm still not sure whether these socks are for me. One of the things I have gotten done, though, I made some yarn. There will be more info on this lovely skein of yarn very soon, which is double bagged because cats. I no sooner got this skeined up than there was a cat trying to put it in her mouth. And I have to admit, it does look really sweet. I will get close-ups of this so that you're not having to go, why is it not in focus? There will be more info on this very soon, but I wanted to show it off as it was plied, washed, and dried by New Year's. And I'm not sure what exactly it'll become, but I'm thinking maybe a scarf or a shawlette, hat and hand warmers. It's really pretty, so there's lots of things that it could become. If you've got any suggestions, just put them in the comments, because you know that I'll read them. While you're down there, feel free to boop the like button and make sure you're subscribed. And if you see the ever-elusive hype button, give it a smash. I'd like to thank my craft coven, my channel members and Patreon supporters for sticking by me while we're trying out all the new content and the more frequent video schedule. I am rather hoping that I don't burn out, but so far so good. I'm learning that once in a while I might just have to take a week off to rest and knit or spin. I've got a sock knitting machine that I haven't even had the time to play with. So yeah, that's it for December, and we will catch up later in January. I do have some fabric to cut out and a mystery project to pull from the bin and cast on, in addition to the hood and any works in progress that I want to try tackling. So it looks like it's going to be a busy month.